Readers, just like when you are reading a text and come across tricky words, sometimes as a test taker, you will come across tricky questions. Don't worry though, just as we have strategies for solving tricky words, we also have strategies for answering tricky questions. So readers, today I want to teach you that along with applying what they know about genre and nonfiction reading skills, readers can have an inner conversation to determine answers to tricky multiple choice questions. You may have noticed last week that when we answered a few questions on the article about basketball, about Coach Gators, I thought out loud and I explained my thinking to you. I was annotating the text. I was kind of reasoning myself with myself, and you also did that as you worked to answer another question. Today, I'll show you that we do this with a tricky question. So when we come across a tricky question, I don't just give up. I push through and I keep thinking. So let's take a look at question number 30. I'm noticing right away that this question is pulling out quotes from the text. You can see that here in bold, and it's telling me read this sentence from paragraph 7. Before I do that, let me read the question and the answers out loud. Read this sentence from paragraph 7. That candor might be hard for the members of the girls' basketball team at John Marshall Metropolitan High School to hear. What idea does this sentence help to support? That Gators can be considered impolite, that Gators speaks very softly at times, that Gators demands a lot from her players, that Gators is impatient with her players. Well, I remember that this text is all about Coach Gators, and I see her name in every single answer choice. So I think this question is really asking me to think deeply about her, and it's asking me to read a sentence from paragraph 7. But, as you may remember from last time, we may want to read the paragraphs around that just to see if there are any hints in there. So here's an excerpt from our story, not just the sentence in paragraph 7, but I'm going to do 5, 6, 7, and 8 to read around that. So the candor, that candor might be hard for the members of the girls basketball team at John Marshall Metropolitan High School to hear. So what does that mean? Paragraph 5. You're embarrassing yourselves, she tells them. She is the same even when they're winning handily. Gators later explains, sloppy play is never enjoyable. Sometimes I'll be like, I hope this game is over soon. I can go home and watch some real basketball. That candor might be hard for the members of the girls' basketball team at John Marshall Metropolitan High School to hear, but they listen. They know this is a woman who can take them places. For 40 years, Gators has brought respect and pride to a West Side Chicago neighborhood that has seen more than its share of hard times. They understand this and also how much Gators cares about them and their futures, and that's whether they end up playing basketball after high school or not. So I see just after the sentence, that candor, right after that, the text goes on to say, but they listen. So when I look at the answer choices, I don't really think Gators is being impolite or rude. So we've got impolite here, because they're listening to her, and it says she's a woman who can take them places. It doesn't really say that she speaks softly. I'm going to grab my pen here and kind of annotate as I'm going. So I'm not so sure she's rude, because they listen. And then down here it says she brought respect and pride. Nowhere does it say she speaks softly. C, it says she demands a lot from her players, possibly. D, I don't really think she's impatient. It says Gators is impatient with her players because it's saying constantly she cares about them and their future. So if she's working with them for a long time, she's probably not really very, she is patient. She's not impatient. She can take them places. So I feel like at this point I have enough positivity in here and enough support in here to prove that my answer is C. Gators demands a lot from her players. So together, let's take a look at question 33. What does paragraph 26 suggest about Gators? A, Gators is appreciated for her important contributions to girls basketball. B, Gators is considered the best high school basketball coach in the country. C, Gators has coached basketball almost as long as more famous coaches. D, Gators has been honored mainly for her work with students off the basketball court. So I kind of have an idea about my answer, but remember, when we're reading narrative nonfiction, I'm always thinking about the subject's traits and motivations. So we have to reason through our thinking. What could the next step be before we just answer a question? Hopefully you said go back to the text. So here's our part in the text. Gators liked basketball, even played a bit herself, but she didn't know much about coaching, so she watched the boys' coaches carefully and took in any games she could find. She won her first state championship in 1982. Now, tucked amid the memorabilia in her office is a photo of Gators shaking the hand of President Bill Clinton at the White House. She was honored for her work with young people in 1998. Another photo shows her being inducted into the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame. In 2009, the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame recognized Gators with one of its Lifetime Achievement Awards for high school coaches. So have a conversation with yourself. Think through these answers. What pieces would support A, B, C, or D? Which pieces of it do not support A, B, C, or D? Take a moment, press pause, get an answer in your head. Press play when you're ready. All right, let's take a look at this. So you should have an answer in your head. So let's see what we came up with. A, Gators is appreciated for her important contribution to girls basketball. Well, I know here she was honored for her work with young people. She's in the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame. Let's see, here's another Hall of Fame here, Lifetime Achievement Awards. She's definitely appreciated and she's being honored. Let's keep looking at the other ones. Gators is considered the best high school basketball coach in the country. Well, it shows me that she's being honored, shaking the hand of the president, inducted into Hall of Fames, but never does it say that she is the best. So I'm going to get rid of that one. C, Gators has coached basketball almost as long as more famous coaches. I didn't see it saying that at all. It says she's a good coach and she's been coaching for a long time, but we don't know about the other coaches. Gators has been honored mainly for her work with students off the basketball court. Well, I know that's something that was important to her, but here she's being inducted for her actual coaching, for her time on the court. So I'm going to get rid of that. So I have enough evidence to support. I think my answer is A. Did you think A as well? So, readers, now it's your turn to try applying your nonfiction reading skills and having that inner conversation with yourself to determine the answers to multiple choice questions. So with your practice article, remember the cover looks like this. You're going to be reading again, looking at your questions for session 3. So make sure you take a look at your questions and go back to the text. How is the text helping you? And how can you have an inner conversation with yourself? Happy reading!